listening to Who's Tom and Dick, a weekly podcast with your hosts, Martin Weavers, fighting stage 4 lung cancer, and Patrick Mortimer, living with heart disease. Why not grab yourself a cup of coffee, sit back, and enjoy the chatter as we discuss and share information, talking about tough subjects, and offering help, support, and motivation with a positive mental attitude.
Good morning, Patrick. How are you?
Morning, Martin. Not too bad. Bit depressed with this old weather, ain't you?
Yeah, stormy weather, eh?
Storm Benjamin.
Stormy.
How did I know you were going to burst into song? That's as if I've been here before.
I reckon, yeah. The interesting subject today we're going to talk about is abuse. I thought it just happened more with women, but statistics show 40% of men get the abuse in a home.
Really?
And yeah, and so we've got a lovely young lady called Emma Davey who's going to be talking through it all with us. So welcome, Emma.
Good morning, Emma, and welcome to Who's Tom and Dick.
Good morning. Thank you for having me.
How you doing?
Yeah, very well, thank you.
Good, and you've got a very interesting story that I saw on BBC TV when you was interviewed, and if you'd like to tell our listeners right from the start, perhaps your story.
Well, it started in 2015 when I was 26 at the time, and I moved to an area that I hadn't been before, so I was very new. I didn't know anybody, and I started a gym. And I was going regularly to a spin class, and you over time start to see the same faces. And there was one guy in particular that was very well known amongst the group. Like, women were very complimentary of him. I saw that, they kind of was in awe of his company. And I didn't really understand why, because, he just looked like an older guy to me, because at the time he was 49. So there obviously is that 23-year age gap. And over time, he started to say hello to me and give me compliments and things like that. And I would say that I probably wasn't in the best mental health space at the time. I was probably going through a period of isolation. So for somebody to notice me, someone to notice my hair colour and make me feel a little bit better about myself during that day, it was nice. Little did I know that I was in the hands of what I would describe as a psychopath. He was looking me up as his next victim. So over time, it got more intense as he would ask for a number. Then he would start to save me a bike for each class. So the relationship started to build, and there was a ball, like a disco kind of thing in the community. And he found me on Facebook and messaged me and asked me if I wanted to go with him. Now, at the time, I just saw him as a nice person. I didn't even think of, could there possibly be a relationship? And so I agreed. And then that night, it was like falling in love. We were, when you're in that moment where you feel like that you're the only person in the room, and they are as well. And it just grew from then, very intense. So from that night, we started texting, seeing each other constantly. Later, I found that he was actually engaged to somebody else. But I got the full sob story of, we're not really together. It hasn't been intimate for 2 years. They had recently had a child at the time. So the child was about 1 year old. And I got, ever since she had the baby, she's not interested in me anymore. It's not really a relationship. I don't want to be in a relationship. I want to be with you. Within the first week, he told me he loved me, and I got the whole, I don't know what you've done to me. I've never felt like this before. I've never been so happy. And as a 26-year-old, I was naive. Because if someone said that to me today, it'd be a million red flags flying. Yeah, I just completely fell. I fell in love, and what I thought was love. Really, I was being groomed, and I was starting to be trauma bonded by somebody, because he was so intense. It's very 0 to 100 with these people. There's no in between. It was, I want us to move in together. I want you to be my wife. I want you to, I can see you having my children. Luckily, that didn't happen, the marriage and the children. So we did become very, very full on. We moved in together after around about 3 months. Lots of gifts, lots of what I now describe as future faking, because it's constantly living in the future. Because his current partner at the time they were living together. So that had to be sorted out. She had to move out, buy a property. As soon as she found out about us, the relationship was over. But now looking back, she'd been with him, from what I understand, for about 12 years. But she was, as I would describe it, as robotic. She didn't go crazy about finding out about me. He'd even put us in the same house together. And that's how manipulative and coercive he is, that he could actually get 2 women.
Do you think you were the first?
Absolutely not.
No.
Since I've gone public, there's been so many women that have come out and said,
Yeah.
he did this to me, he did that to me, he lied to me about this. So no, I was just with these people. They do have main supplies, so they do have wives, girlfriends, or husbands, boyfriends, and that's called the main supply. So that means that they have everything they want with you, but that doesn't mean that they're content. They are still going to have a different life, so they're still going to have other intimate partners elsewhere, as a form of supply. So for him, I was just the replacement of the main supply.
Right.
Because he gets very bored very quickly. With these types of narcissistic psychopaths, they get very bored, so they constantly need fixes. I would say that he was an alcoholic as well, a very high functioning alcoholic. So he was able to go to work. So again, at 26, I thought an alcoholic was someone that sat on a park bench with a bottle of vodka at 9 o'clock in the morning, where he wasn't like that. And he was very liked within the community as well. Like, he would give to charity, he would say hello to everybody. Like, everyone had a very high opinion of him. So for me to not know anyone in that area, nobody came up to me and said, look, you need to watch this guy, he's got a bad reputation for this. Everyone seemed really that he liked everyone, and that everyone really liked him. I found out soon after that all that was all a facade. He would be nice to somebody, and as soon as their back would be turned, it would be a negative comment. People got on his nerves. He could only tolerate people for a certain amount of time. Everything was fake. His whole persona and his whole life is fake. And over time, once he got me, then he started chipping away at me. So that's where the coercion, the coercive controlling behavior came in. Everything that was perfect about me suddenly became everything that was wrong about me. So the way I dressed, he didn't like that I'd worn clothes, and I just mean clothes as in like jeans, tops. He didn't like the fact that I would have worn them with other people. And I don't mean partners, I mean just like people in general.
Yeah.
So he then said, I'm just going to buy you a whole new wardrobe. And I thought, well, that's good, because we were going to Blue Water, the Caramel, and all things like that. So lovely. But he was moulding me into what he wanted. And he laughed and said, oh, you're like my dolly. So all of these things at the time I thought was nice, and I would also get terminology like, this is what a real relationship looks like. You haven't had a real relationship before. So this is a guy that's 49, I'm 26. And so I was looking up to him thinking, well, yeah, maybe this is what a real relationship is. I haven't been in a real one before. So I was very, very easily manipulated at the time. I changed all my clothes. Then I was blonde at the time as well, as I am now. But then it was like, do you know what? People are going to start thinking that you're just really thick being blonde. So I changed my hair to black. And then I had breast enlargement at the time. And then he didn't like the fact that I had those breast implants when I was with another partner. So he made me get another breast enlargement done, for which he said, right, they're mine now. So it was completely molding me into his property. And that's what he said, I own you. Further down the line, he actually said, I own you now. You are mine. The thing is, with these types of relationships, they're not 100% abusive all the time, in that you're not having bad, horrendous days where you're being shouted at, you're possibly being hit, or you do get nice versions of those people. So that's where the confusion comes in. So being in a period of time with these people, it's 1 minute it's really good, next minute it's really bad. So it's very highs and lows, and that is where the trauma bond becomes, really, really apparent, that you have become addicted to a person, putting you on a pedestal because you never know when you're going to be knocked off it.
Yeah.
And you're also getting gaslit throughout the relationship, where you're being told that you're wrong, that you're crazy, that you need to see somebody, that's not right, you're never good enough anymore. So you're constantly in the trauma response of fight, flight, freeze, or fall. You're never out of a trauma response with these people. So your blood pressure's through the roof, you're starting to feel ill, walking around on eggshells, nothing's right. And confusion sets in and you get really angry with yourself, like, why can't I just be who he wants me to be? Why can't I got anything right? And you put all that self-blame on you. And there would be times where for hours he would just be so nasty to me, but just not in even a shouty way, but just in such a cold, callous, psychopathic way of just talking to you like how I am now. Like, you're stupid, you're pathetic, no one likes you, your own family don't like you. He really tried to isolate me from my family in particular, but also friends. And it got me to the point of those bouts where he would just abuse me for hours, of where I would end up self-harming myself, like finding something sharp, because me begging him to stop and just saying, look, I love you so much, please, why are you doing this to me? All the future that we've got looking forward to, why do you want to do this to me? It wouldn't bother him. I think he actually liked the fact that I was crying. So I used to get something sharp and I used to cut my body in front of him to draw blood. That would then shock him and get him to stop. I wouldn't get sorry. He wouldn't think, oh my God, oh, look what I've done. It would be, what are you doing? You're so crazy. You're nuts. You need help. You need professional help. And yeah, I 100% did need professional help. I needed somebody to tell me that I was in an abusive relationship. I never got that. Through that gaslighting, I did end up going to two counsellors at the time. So one counsellor I saw for about 9 months, and it was kind of every week. And he never ever told me that I was in an abusive relationship. It was just kind of one of those that you say, how will you feel today? Yeah, I feel like this. Okay, well, I'll see you next week. The second one was, I went to couples counselling, and it was a woman counsellor. And I went in there with notes. I looked broken. I was just so lost. I needed somebody to tell me that I wasn't crazy.
Yeah.
He went in there very, very confident, played the pity party, made out that I was the controlling one, I was the manipulative one, and look what he has to put up with. And she believed him.
Can't actually believe he actually went with you. That shocked me, I must admit. But
he was very sure of himself, because he's very, very clever. And he knows how to manipulate people in those circumstances. And he also knew the things to push me, as in to push my buttons, to make me react. So then I looked bad in front of other people. So that's another thing they do. On the way to counselling or on the way to an event, they will say things to trigger you, to get a form of reaction. And then you've got to go in there really activated, possibly angry, possibly upset. And they're walking in nice and smiley, polite, and I'm already angry.
Yeah.
So I want to, release everything. So I look like the crazy one. I spent my whole time during the relationship trying to get him sober, because when he was drunk, that's when the physical abuse used to come in. He would spit at me regularly. He would smash my head against a wall. And he became very, very scary when he was drunk, because with these types of narcissists, sociopaths, it's the black eyes that come out when they drink, and when they are full of rage, there's no filter, and they can't stop themselves. It's kind of like psychosis, to be honest. Like, there isn't anyone there, as in saying, you're being unreasonable now. Like, it's got to a point where you stop. They'll just keep going until they decide that well, whatever stops them, to be honest.
Yeah.
And that used to terrify me. So I spent my whole time trying to get him sober. I used to sit in AA meetings, and it was like honestly taking a child to like an AA meeting because he didn't want to go. He'd kick his teddy out the pram. He'd be like, I'm not going in. I became like, I used to joke and say, I'm like your carer. And I generally was. I was, my whole life had become about pleasing him, all about his needs, and nothing about me. As long as he was happy, my life was easier. The abuse wasn't as bad. Because at that time, I still didn't understand what coercive controlling behaviour was. It wasn't really spoken about. It's only been law since 2015, which is when we met. So never heard of it.
Yeah.
Still thought that domestic violence was being hit. But even when I was being spat at, I still didn't recognise that as being domestic violence. Because he would also say, well, it's not as if I punched you, is it? I spat at you. So what? So, but again, he was clever. He didn't leave any marks and minimised it. Okay, yeah, he did only spit at me. Yeah, it didn't hurt, but yeah, okay. So then I did put him in rehab, and then he did stop drinking, I think, for about a year, where things got a little bit better in the sense that there wasn't any physical abuse. Now I look back, yes, the coercive control was still there. He still didn't like me doing certain things. He still, if a guy said hello to me or, left the door open for me, there would still be that, why are you talking to him? Why are you looking at him? Why are you doing this? I still felt like I had to tread around on eggshells and make sure he was happy. But then he started drinking again. All holidays were ruined. Holidays were horrendous because you're obviously out of the country and you're a long way from home. And then you're in a hotel and you're looking at other people being very happy. Like he would lock me on balconies, sometimes for hours. And sometimes I even contemplated chucking myself off the balcony because I'm stuck. Locked me out of hotel rooms, smashed hotel rooms up. Yeah, be physically abusive to me over there. There was one in particular that is the worst one, which was when we were in Maldives for Christmas 2018. And he started drinking at the airport. And as soon as I knew that he started drinking at the airport, that was it. I knew that I was in for a long time of hell and pain. So it was just continuous. And Christmas Eve, he physically abused me again, spat in my face, pulled my hair out, was vile to me in front of other guests. He actually got arrested and taken off the little island and taken back to Mali. I was taken into another room, like to be taken away from him. It was just absolutely crazy. Like, this is Christmas Day. And I was looking at all these other people, families, couples, just living the dream that I've always wanted. He went to another island and continued his holiday, met somebody else, slept with somebody else on that island. I don't know how he does it. And then I came to that island for New Year's Eve, which he paraded me around, even in front of the woman that he'd slept with. And I found this out by emails that I found on his laptop. And then 2 weeks later after that, I tried to commit suicide because that was like 3 years in now. And I had been belittled, humiliated, degraded, gaslit. My body was shutting down. Now I'd lost so much weight. I think about 10 kilos in probably about 10 months.
Wow.
I literally plummeted. And that wasn't, I think my body just was in functional freeze the whole time, just trying to survive. We were engaged at the time to get married. And and we went to couples counselling after that. And that's when she said, you've got to trust him. You've got to let him do what he wants. If he wants to drink 2 beers, then you've got to trust him that he's going to say that he's going to do that. And obviously this woman doesn't know about him, doesn't know his history. And I'm telling him that I've gone through all of these experiences of when he's drunk, and I've put him into rehab, and he is an alcoholic. He's had counsellors and psychologists say, yes, you are an alcoholic. You need to stop drinking because you end up going to kill yourself if you carry on. But she said to me that if he wanted 2 beers, I had to trust him that he was going to stop at that point. Well, obviously, I knew that wasn't going to happen.
Yeah.
There's no such thing as 2 drinks. And I just felt so invalidated. I just wanted to give up. Anyway, so he came out of there looking like a Cheshire cat because I'd just been, told that I'm crazy and that he's fine. And then we got into his work van and he was like, we need to trust each other. I was like, okay. Anyway, I knew that I couldn't. But at that particular time, when he said that to me, I was sitting in a secret compartment of that van where he'd got a secret phone and he was messaging other women. This is how calculated he is, that he knew that I was sitting on this secret, and yet he's telling me that I needed to trust him. I used to always find stuff out because my gut feeling was always something's not right, I need to find it. And obviously when I did find it, I used to get, you're crazy, you're nuts, you're obsessed with me. I can't do it. I set this all up because I wanted to see what a nutter you were. Yeah. And it just continued. So I did try to commit suicide that particular time in January 2019. And luckily my cleaner found me, who is now a very good friend of mine. She called my parents and I did go back because then I got, I'm the sorry. And then my friend in Australia at the time said, look, why don't you just come to Australia for a month, just give yourself a break. I, at that particular point, couldn't imagine my life without this man. This is how trauma bonded I had become.
Wow.
But it was my 30th birthday in February and he had planned to take me to Vegas. And deep down, I knew if I went to Vegas, I wouldn't be coming home. So I did get on a plane. I did go to Australia for a month and it gave me a bit of a break, kind of to reflect on what's happened. And that's when I was really introduced to the word narcissist. And then I started to understand what emotional abuse was. And my friend would literally be screaming at me like, why can you not see what he's doing to you? And it's because partly I didn't want to see it, because I'd put so much effort into this man to try and fix him, because I was constantly living in this future faking of where it was all going to be amazing. And because days he was really nice, and what about if somebody else went and got this amazing guy? You don't really want to let go.
Yeah.
Because I felt like a failure. If I let go of this relationship, all that time and effort in, I'm a failure. I've walked away from something that could potentially be so amazing, because that's what he'd implanted in my head. And then I did come back. And when I came back, he
And I
had...
just asked you there, Emma, were these people in Australia the first people that you'd spoken to about it, or had you mentioned this to anybody while you was in England?
My parents were telling me as well, because it was kind of like a revolving door. I was being kicked out of the house. I'd go back to theirs for a bit and then I'd be drawn back in. And so my mum said it was like a revolving door.
So
Like
they
it
were
was,
well aware.
yeah, very, very well. He hated my parents with a passion. He didn't like them. He would always put them down to me. He would say awful things about them. He actually sent a topless picture of me to my dad
God.
and said, look what a whore of a daughter you've got, and things like that. He did get cautioned for that, but that's it. A good punishment, to be honest. But
No.
Were there any moments you questioned the relationship or thought about leaving?
I think there's always that in your head, but I think where you're now so isolated and you are so manipulated by them, that you don't know what real life is anymore. You don't know, like, you have to become what they are in the sense of what they like, what they do. You've learned how to walk how they want you to walk, talk how they want you to talk. Your opinions are theirs, because you learn the consequences throughout these relationships. If you did something or liked something, or there would be a form of punishment. It could be a massive argument. It could be made to feel stupid, humiliated. It could be silent treatment. So you learn from all these mistakes, as it were, that you have to constantly do the right thing, say the right thing, be the right thing, just to keep yourself safe in these situations. So no, I suppose at that particular point, I didn't think about leaving because I didn't know how to leave. And he put trackers on my car. He put cameras all in the house when I moved in. Everything was for my benefit, in the sense. So when I got the car, it was a lovely birthday present. Look how wonderful I am. I'm getting you this car. And little did I know that he'd put on this full-on tracker on it where it sends him a report every day. But the thing is, what baffled me is that I wasn't allowed anywhere anyway. Like, we were together anyway all the time. I might go to Sainsbury's. I think it was more when I went to see my mum and dad.
Mhm.
He
Right.
wanted to know how long it took me to my mum and dad's. Did I go anywhere else? Would I have seen anyone else? The thing is, because these people are very untrustworthy and untrusting, because they are constantly lying to you and possibly cheating on you. So if they're doing it, then there's something in them. They're projecting themselves onto you of what they're doing. So I always say, if you want to know what a narcissist is doing, look at what they're accusing you of, because that's why they're doing that. And it was just that constant control. I felt like I was living in a prison, with the cameras as well. When I moved into the house, yeah, they had cameras outside on the driveway, etc. But then he was like, I would have put cameras in the house because for your safety, it is a big house. He'd lived there 8 years and with a previous partner, and no cameras had been in the house. So yeah, so I had constant surveillance all the time. I was never out of shot, really. And he would go down my phone all the time. Just everything was taken away from me, but very cleverly. So given a car, given a new phone so he could see my phone bills. And the thing is, I was never doing anything wrong. So never had anything to hide. But if I'd phoned my dad, why did you phone your dad? What do you need to speak to your dad for? Or if my phone rang and it had my mum, I knew that I couldn't answer it, because it would be, why are you answering the phone to your mum? You're like 29 years old. You don't need to speak to your mum every day. It's pathetic. You need to grow up. So it's that. So then I learned I couldn't answer the phone to my mum.
Wow.
So, and it's these small little things that you learn that you can't do, like even what you wear. It all starts with, are you going to wear that? And they do that at the beginning to see if you're moldable, because if you're in that moment of wanting to please someone, you'll go, oh no, doesn't it look good? Oh, okay, I'll change. They know they've got you. If you say, yeah, I'm wearing this,
Yeah.
and it's like, well, because they're very clever, and sometimes they don't actually say, you can't go out, you can't wear this. They will do it in a very coercive way where it'll be, are you going to wear that? It's a bit see-through. Who are you wearing that for? Or do you have to go out? I planned us to do something. You saw your friends last week. Why do you have to see them again? Oh, okay, we'll just go then. If that's what you want to do, then just go. And you think, oh no, I can't go now. And you feel guilty. And so you start saying no to people when you get asked out. You'll make fake excuses or fake illnesses. Oh, I've got a stomachache. I can't really come today. Or you just notice that your circle becomes very small. Your world becomes very small, because you know that there is a form of consequence coming if I go out, or if I wear this, or if I do that. And then when I come back from Australia for that month, he had manipulated the whole gym against me, that I was the abusive one. I've done this. I've run off to Australia. And so the whole gym was against me, where one of the gym instructors actually come up to me and was extremely abusive to me and said, I'm not welcome down here. And then I got in my car, and as I come to go out, he tried to walk in front of my car to try to get me to stop, because I didn't want to see him or talk to him. So I massively swerved around him. I didn't try to hit him. Later on, I got arrested for attempted ABH, where I was put in a prison cell or a holding cell. I had to go through all of the booking in. I couldn't quite believe that I'd gone through all of this, and yet I was the one sitting in a prison cell, isolated. That's the ultimate isolation there. I'm locked in a room, being accused of something that I haven't done. He's on the outside looking like the poor victim, and everyone feeling sorry for him.
Yeah.
And luckily, I think I was in there for about 4 hours, and I had seen, they were very nice to me, to be fair. They said, look, we're not even going to interview you. We've seen the CCTV. You didn't try to hit him. You swerved around him. Like, you're free to go. But again, that's another very traumatic experience of someone that's gone through so much abuse, because I was being abused every day, whether it was a lot or whether it was, being put down or being made to feel stupid, or I didn't cook the eggs right again. What's wrong with me? So I was the person that was there. And then it got pretty bad again, where I was being humiliated online. There was, the flying monkeys then got involved, and it just became too much. So I tried to commit suicide again, where I actually put a rope around my neck. And it was only because my phone rang and I saw it was somebody that I'd not spoken to for a while. And I answered and they said, "What are you doing?" And I just burst into tears. They came and got me. And at the time, the only thing I had to my name was an engagement ring and a watch that was bought for me after he put a cold iron in my face once. So when I was in Dubai, he was being so nasty to me for hours that I just got up and walked away, and I went to the room and just sat there. And then he came back and he pulled this iron out the plug socket, and I just closed my eyes. And when I opened it, he put the iron like or millimeters away from my face, screaming at me, saying, "If you ever leave me in a restaurant again, I will smash your face in." So the next day I got a £40,000 watch.
Oh God.
So those are the two things that I had to my name. I had a watch and I had a ring. And this person took me to Hatton Garden and I sold it. The ring he bought was, I think, £70,000. I mean, I obviously looked absolutely desperate and broken when I went to Hatton Garden, probably not the best place to resell something. So I got £18,000 for my ring and I got £6,500 for my watch. I took the money and run. I booked my flight to Australia and then I spent £12,000 on a counselling course out there. And that's where I went and qualified as a counsellor while doing my own recovery. So it was a huge turning point in my life because I knew that I had to change something. If I didn't change anything, I was going to end up dead because I was just going to keep going around this cycle of abuse, of being pulled back in, sucked back in, and going through the same thing. And every time you go around this cycle, you lose a little bit more of yourself and a little bit more. So I knew that it was down to me to change something. And I had to come back in 2020 because of COVID, unfortunately. But I continued my studies, I graduated, and then I opened My Trauma Therapy, which specialises in domestic abuse, narcissistic abuse, and coercive control recovery. Because what I noticed is that there wasn't anyone understanding what I was talking about. There wasn't anyone, no. Professionals, no.
Yeah.
I was saying these things, and they would look at me a little bit like, I don't really understand what you're talking about. Was the main question is, was you getting hit regularly? No, I wasn't. Oh, okay, well, couldn't have been that bad then.
Yeah.
So I just never felt validated. I felt there was a lot wrong with me at one point where there was nothing wrong with me. I was just in a very narcissistic relationship, but it was killing me.
Mhm.
So I wanted to be the counsellor that I never had. And that was determination. So I have spent the last now 6 years training and training and training. I'm in my last year at university doing my master's degree in psychology of coercive control because I would like to go on to teach teenagers about coercive control, not just about relationships, but gangs as well.
Yeah.
Coercion is everywhere. And unless you're taught it, and understand what it feels like, you'll never know what it is. And in my research that I've noticed that a lot of people I see have also experienced some form of coercive control in teenagers or in childhood. And unless you break the cycle, you will continue to accept this form of behavior because it becomes normality. Like this is normal. So that is my plan.
So if you don't mind me asking, what's happened to him now?
So in 2022, I persisted on going back to the police because they kept saying, "Oh, well, you've got no evidence," because coercive control is very hard to prove because there is no tangible evidence, as in you don't have broken bones, black eyes. So I kept being told you don't have enough evidence. But they don't tell you what evidence you have to have. You kind of have to figure that out yourself. So emails, text messages, voice notes, pictures, even of the good stuff, not just the bad, but it shows a pattern of behavior. And that is what I collated. He did come back into my life again for about 3 months in 2021. By that point, I was very, very aware of what this was, and I was determined to get him. And so I collated all the evidence. because the love bombing only lasted about, 3 weeks.
Yeah.
And then he was arrested and then remanded. And he was then sentenced to 19 months in November 2022 for coercive and controlling behaviour. So after he got sentenced, I then came up with the idea of a app where victims of abuse can store their pattern of abuse. So text messages, voice notes, emails, everything. And the app stores it in date order. So you could literally pass it to the police or solicitor if you're going to criminal or family court and prove the type of behaviour that you've experienced, because unless you have the evidence, the CPS unfortunately won't touch it. And I know the law has changed now, literally yesterday in family court, about the parents that are abusive will not have access to their children. This is in the UK. But, it's the same with coercive control. It was a law in 2015, and we still see very minimal convictions because of evidence.
Yeah.
It's a crime that, a good barrister will probably get you out of if you don't plead guilty, if you don't have the evidence. And I do believe that because he did plead guilty to this, he did get a very, very fancy lawyer. And I think even she knew that you're not going to get found not guilty because there's too much evidence here. So you might as well just plead guilty.
Yeah.
In the hope that he would have got a suspended sentence. But I was lucky and I had a good judge, and he said, no, you are getting custodial. That moment for me was everything, because for so long I'd felt like I had to justify and try to convince everyone around me that I was telling the truth, that he is this awful person. And I just never felt that people fully believed me. And so for that moment, for a judge to turn around and say, no, actually, it's Cat A, which is the highest, the worst form of abuse, I just was like, oh my God, I'm believed. Thank you. And for me, that was closure. I was done.
Yeah.
The trauma bond had been broken in that sense of I felt nothing anymore. I didn't have to fight anymore. I didn't have to fight to prove. I could just focus on me, carry on with my own healing journey, and help and support many other people.
So your aims now are to try and educate youngsters to recognise this behaviour before they get trapped.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because these people can't change. So narcissists, psychopaths, sociopaths, they will not change. It is scientifically proven that no medication or therapy will change or rewire their brain. So the only way that you're not going to get abused by these people is by ensuring that you learn what this is, you learn how it looks, how it makes you feel, and you've got to take the responsibility to walk away or be like, actually, this doesn't seem quite right. No, thank you. I'm walking away.
On your app that you was talking about, you forgot to mention that it can go on your phone and nobody will know what the app is. It doesn't say, this is my app for abuse, does it?
No. So the app is called MyNARA, which stands for My Narcissistic Abuse Recovery App. And I cloaked it so it kind of looks like another app that blends into your phone. Even getting into the app, once you've signed in, it will look like the app that it looks on the other phone. So even when you go in it, it works like that. Once you put your special code in, it will then take you through to the app where you can store stuff. You can also log red flags. So I wanted it to not just be an app for people that are experiencing abuse. It's for, say, when you start dating somebody, start logging red flags, and the app will start telling you how many red flags that you've logged. And that will be a big indication of, you've logged 5 red flags in a week. This is something you need to look at. This isn't quite right. So I urge anyone to have this app on their phone. There is a 12-step recovery program as well, because I wanted to validate people that, these are the stages that you go through. And the first one is complete denial. You don't want to know. People might say, oh, they're not quite right. You're isolating yourself, and you'll be completely like, no, I'm fine. The relationship's fine. He's just working, or she's working really hard. You'll be in denial. You do not want to admit to yourself, let alone anyone else, that the person that you're with is actually the person that's abusing you. And then comes the realization stage where you see it and now you can't unsee it. And then you have to make a decision, because there are people that stay in these relationships, but if you stay, you've got to know the consequences of, well, these people are never going to change. You have to accept this is them. And if you can, because there are different level, when we talk about narcissism, there's different levels of narcissism. So you might have like a vulnerable narcissist, which overlaps with borderline personality disorder, which you tend not to see coercive controlling behavior in that part. So I see people that they can go out, they can see friends, but they'll just get a really sulky person when they come home, and life's just not enjoyable with these people, but they do get to go and do their own thing. Where if you're with a malignant narcissist, then that is the high level crossing borders with the psychopath, where there is high level coercive controlling behavior, physical abuse. That is a very, very dangerous person that you're dealing with. And leaving also is one of the most dangerous times, because like he said to me, you're my property. And for me to walk away, I massively hurt his ego. I don't think he was ready for me. He didn't have a replacement ready. He didn't like it. Become very angry. The stalking and harassment came after that, which it tends to happen. But luckily, he was stupid enough to put everything in text and voice notes and emails and things like that. So he did me a favour with that. But yeah, I just think you have to be smart with these people and record stuff, log stuff, even reach out to family and friends, let them log stuff as well, what they're what they're witnessing, because that holds a lot of weight in court.
You said your partner had access to your phone and emails and checked you out. Can a partner get access to this app if they get your phone?
No, because if they don't know the code, then they won't be able to access it. They will just go in, and it can be used as what the app looks like.
Right. Okay.
You've certainly proved through all this that you are a very clever person for what you're doing now. So don't let anybody ever put you down for that. But I'd just like to quote to you something that I mentioned to you, that my wife has been through a similar path. And I'd just like to read it. And she says, it's not a mental health issue. It's not a fault physically or mentally. It's pure fear, utterly out of control. They break you mentally and physically in every way they can.
Absolutely. What she said about what that does to you. So coercive control is built on fear, threat, and intimidation. So you're constantly in fear, you're constantly being threatened, and you're constantly being intimidated. So that's where I said about the consequences, and you learn what you can and can't do, because you don't know what's coming. You don't know what form of punishment is going to come your way. So
yeah.
So remind us what this app is called and how you get it.
It's called MyNARA, MyNARA, and you can download it via mynara.app, or you can go in the app stores and download it there.
Excellent.
And you have a company now where people can get in contact with you about this, or?
Yes, so I also have my own private practice called My Trauma Therapy, which is where I work with people one-to-one and help them through whatever stage they're at. So some people are still in an abusive situation, or they've left and now they want to work on their own healing. So we modify all the therapy around them. But the first thing I will always say to someone is, there's nothing wrong with you. I believe you, and you are going to get through this.
And you're based in Essex, but I suppose if someone else in the country, they could do it via Zoom or...
Yeah, I pretty much see everyone online. I see people all over the world now. So
the trouble is because it's only just been sort of acknowledged, 2015, that's not that long ago. In court, there's not enough cases still to reflect back on, like they do with murder cases and all that sort of thing. They've got plenty of cases that they reflect back on and see that these guys are getting, and ladies are getting, punished for what they're doing.
And the problem is when you have a jury, if those jury do not understand what coercive control looks like, then they're not going to see it, because my abuser was in court again a year and a half later for non-fatal strangulation and coercive control with another victim.
Wow.
And I went and I watched it. I watched one of the days, and this day in particular was when he was giving his evidence, and it intrigued me so much. I wanted to see what like he was in particular, because I never got a trial, so I didn't get that. But yeah, it was all like the pity part of me. I done this, I gave her that, I did this. And yes, he got sentenced for non-fatal strangulation, but the jury found him not guilty of coercive control.
Mm.
And yet everything I heard was a carbon copy of exactly what he'd done to me.
Yeah.
You know, the car, the credit card, moving into his house within like a couple of weeks, buying her stuff, not letting her see her mum, making her clean the house all the time. Like, all of that is that is coercive control. And how they didn't see that, I don't know. So the problem is also you're asking people that may have never experienced this to make a decision when they don't understand it.
Do you find you don't trust men so much now?
No, I mean, I'm with someone now, and we've been together for over 3 years, and I was never going to let him destroy any other element of my life.
Yeah.
I'm very well educated in personalities now and red flags, and I talk about it a lot, but I actually, when I started dating, I would test them.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So I would wear quite revealing clothes, or I would say certain things to see if I would get, are you going to wear that, or are you doing that? Because some of them did, and they were gone.
Yeah.
So, yeah. My partner says that he passed with flying colours, and he did. Yeah.
Well, you're doing a fantastic job, and as I said, it wasn't a nice story, but you've come out the other end, as I say, and a fantastic woman. So well done, you.
Yeah, well done.
Thank you both.
Thanks very much, Emma.
You're so
Much
welcome.
appreciated.
Thanks, Emma. Wow, what a story.
Well, I think you hit the nail on the head there with that word, wow.
You can't believe this sort of thing goes on, and it's probably going on with people we know.
Mm.
And, it's difficult to get out of a relationship once you're in a relationship.
Well, as I said, it happened to Linny, and the questions I asked her, are very similar to what Emma was saying. We just hope that anybody who may be going through this can get onto this app.
Well, the thing is, if you can gain some strength and get in touch with Emma, she's been there before, she's been through it, done it, and come out the other side, and now very experienced in this subject.
Mm.
Get in touch for some advice.
Yeah, that's what I'd do, definitely.
Yeah, we'll put some details on our website, so if you miss those, they'll be there. Well, that brings us to an end of another podcast, Martin.
It certainly does, Patrick.
Still amazes me the different subjects we're getting.
Yeah, I enjoy it. It's different. I
enjoy it when we have guests because we don't have to have joke of the week. So, but that's just me.
Yeah, only you. I think all the other listeners enjoy it.
Anyway, yeah, I'm sure they do. Have a great weekend.
Yeah, and you and everybody else.
And we'll see you back here again next week.
Yeah, bye everybody.
Take care. Thanks very much for listening. Bye. Bye.
You've been listening to the Who's Tom and Dick podcast with your hosts, Martin Weavers and Patrick Mortimer. If you enjoyed this episode, please subscribe to the show on Apple, Spotify, or your favorite streaming platform. New episodes are available every Friday. Thanks for tuning in.